OCD creates urgency to make you act fast. That's how it keeps you in the compulsion cycle. But if you can pause even just for 3 seconds, you open the door to freedom instead of reaction. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing this 3-second rule and why it's so important to managing OCD and anxiety. And if you are struggling with OCD and you would like some support with that, well, I offer a free discovery call. To get that, you can head over to my website, robertjamescoaching.com. There's a link in the show notes. Urgency is OCD's emotional trap. When we really experience an obsession, there's this horrible sense of urgency. And this is something that everybody with OCD recognizes. When you feel that sense of urgency, to start getting more certainty, to start figuring something out, to want to get that reassurance about things. It can feel almost like, we're a kind of slave to it, like that we have to do that. And if we don't get that kind of release of pressure that the urgency is creating, then our anxiety is going to build and build and build until it's going to kind of explode and we're going to feel absolutely awful. But the problem is with this kind of take is that although to a certain extent, what I've just talked about there is a pattern that I think has happened to most people with OCD. Otherwise, probably you wouldn't be experiencing OCD. We are able to interrupt this cycle. We don't always have to respond to that urgency with performing the compulsion in order to kind of feel better in the short term. To change things, it really does involve doing things quite a bit differently, taking a bit of a different perspective on things and recognizing a little bit of what happens in the body when we find ourselves getting triggered by an obsession. So typically the first thing that happens when you get an intrusive thought or you see something that you really didn't want to see or you feel very uncomfortable for how many hundreds of millions of different permutations there could be out there for different types of OCD. Typically what happens is you feel very, very sick in the stomach perhaps or tight in the chest. And straight away you want to feel a bit better because now you're feeling this horrendous anxiety. You want it gone. And that's why we perform compulsions. And unfortunately, most of the time, people perform that compulsion before they've even given themselves an opportunity to be able to kind of get used to the difficult emotions that they're experiencing. That sense of urgency is a trap because it tells us you better figure it out right now. You better get that certainty right now because if you don't, something truly awful is going to happen and you're going to really regret it. And so often we listen to that urgency and we just perform that compulsion. And when we do, well, temporarily, because you did the compulsion, you got that reassurance, you've given yourself a little bit more certainty in the short term, well, your body begins to calm down a little bit. The anxiety reduces just enough for you to feel a little bit better. But unfortunately, because we did that, because we had to perform a compulsion in order to feel better, all we've actually done is we've reinforced the OCD and anxiety kind of loop. We've sent a message to our subconscious that the next time we find ourselves in this situation where we're kind of unsure about something, where we're really triggered and we're feeling the sense of urgency, well, the only thing that's going to make us feel better is actually to perform a compulsion. And this isn't true, actually. We can do other things, but, if we just do that compulsion all the time, well, that's the thing that we're probably going to keep doing because that's the thing that we've taught ourselves is the only thing that's actually going to calm us down. So this 3-second rule is all about proving to ourselves that this isn't quite true. So it kind of works like this. The next time that you find yourself really triggered, when that sense of urgency is really bubbling up and you're finding yourself really wanting to perform that compulsion, like it's the most important thing for you in that moment to just get that reassurance, to feel better. The idea is just to pause for 3 seconds. If you can pause for just 3 seconds and instead, just do something completely different. Maybe you're just going to feel your body for 3 seconds. Perhaps take a deep breath in. In fact, taking a deep breath in is often a really good idea, because when we take a deep breath all the way down into the belly, ideally breathing in through the nose, it helps to just calm the body a little bit. It kind of brings a bit more of a kind of a sense of the parasympathetic nervous system kind of coming online a little bit more. When we're taking short, sharp breaths, that tends to activate the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight system. By taking one deep breath in, you're actually activating a little bit the parasympathetic system. The more that we actually breathe in that way, a few times throughout the day, perhaps checking in with yourself and just taking, 2 or 3 very deep breaths in general, that can be a really beneficial thing to do. But in this 3-second pause, taking that deep breath, well, that gives you something to focus on during this time. You might even want to extend it to a 5 or 6-second pause. And the idea here is just to do something different, rather than just like kind of giving into the obsession and performing that compulsion. Now you're interrupting the cycle. You're choosing to pause, you're choosing to take a deep breath, you're choosing to focus your attention onto your body, feel a little bit the trigger that you're experiencing. If after you've done that, you still want to perform the compulsion, well, fair enough. But at least now you postponed for a short time, you took a deep breath, you checked in with your body, and that actually interrupts that cycle. It kind of calms the urgency down a little bit. And like I say, it may be that you still want to perform that compulsion. If you really want to, then you can. But it may also be that just pausing for those 3 seconds provides you enough headspace and enough body space that actually now you're able to see the obsession a little bit more objectively. Perhaps you're able to postpone doing anything with it for a few minutes, or for 30 minutes, or however long you want. And instead you're going to think about acceptance commitment therapy. You're going to think about, well, what do I actually value right now? What do I really want to focus my attention onto? Can I get busy with something else altogether for the next hour? And then if I really want to, I can come back to this thing then. But if you don't at least take that 3-second pause, take a deep breath in, and then really reflect on, do I really want to do this compulsion? Then it's likely that the urgency is going to take over and you're just going to perform that compulsion anyway. And, spin around in that OCD cycle, finding yourself more and more stuck there. So, this is a really helpful tip. This is something that I apply quite often in my own life. So, as with everything, if you can give it a go, see if it works for you. Like I say, if you want to extend that to a 10-second pause or a 30-second pause, there's flexibility there. It doesn't matter exactly how you practice it. Just experiment with it and see if it's something that works for you. So many thanks, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed that. Please remember, I do offer a free discovery call. To get that, you can head over to my website, robertjamescoaching.com. There's a link in the show notes, and I will see you next time. This video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are dealing with OCD, anxiety, or any mental health concerns, please consult a licensed mental health professional for support.